Hi everyone. Nice day today. Well, we're looking into the usual, what we talk about. What they call non-duality. Non-duality meaning one without a second, or not two. And that's the basis of it all. Being recognised and realised down through the ages that there is only one essence. It's patterning, shaping, forming, experiencing and expressing as all this so-called manifestation. And the manifestation is real, but not as it appears. It appears in all this myriads of things, but it is the one essence that's expressing and patterning experiences as everything. And you and I and every so-called body, mind, and everything else is that same essence, and the way it patterns, shapes and forms and expresses implies it is suffused with an innate intelligence. That's why I use the term intelligence energy rather than use the term God, because all the different traditions have different concepts, different labels, or different names of what they believe God to be. But most of us will tell you that God is one. It is the only. And yet, when they're labelling the different things and dividing it up, we're losing sight of the true nature of it all, and our true nature. The pattern, shapes and forms which are vibrating and expression we call human beings. We're being what we call human. But take the human of it. If you call God a supreme being, take the label supreme of it. And what's left without those labels supreme and human? Just being. Now have a look at that. Can you negate your beingness? You really can't negate it. So if you can't negate it and you can't say what it is, because it can't be negated, it must mean that all it is what is. What is means unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected. There is no thing other than that. The Mahavakya, or the great mantra, is I am that. Innately we know that. That is a chair. That's the tree. That is the flower. That is the space, that is the sky, everything is that. But just saying it's that, we see it as different, what have we done? We've learnt words. We've learnt other words that do discriminate it. The chair, the carpet, the tree, the flower. The human being, the being God, the being this, the being that. All labels or words. And when you investigate it, you see the word's not the thing anyway. Can you drink the word water? Can you swim in it? Can you drown it? You can't. Can you cook with the word fire? Can you heat yourself with it? Or burn yourself with it? So when you put this believed entity that you are to the same test, what is this I that you call I? Can I see? Can I hear? Can I be aware? Can I choose? Can I think? We believe that. We're doing that, not realising the seeing, the hearing, the thinking, the tasting, the touching, smelling, happening spontaneously. Vibrating patterns of this intelligence energy. And we label it to I or me. And the I or me, we label a person. I am a person. I am a human being. I am a person. I am an individual. The person comes from persona, the mask. And the mask means we put a conceptual image on ourselves, an image made up of concepts that are seemingly obscuring our true nature. It's not really obscured because it has no pattern, shape or form as absolute, and all pattern, shapes and forms are appearing and expressing as it. All pattern, shapes and forms are it, but not how they appear. That is the reality. Its reality of truth is that which never changes. But the pattern, shapes and forms it appears in, it vibrates and expresses as, are constantly changing. They are transient, constantly change. And so we are the changeless, which is appearing and expressing as change. And that essence that's appearing in it is what is understood as the absolute, the great perfection. It is all there is. And if it's absolute, with that word, what can you add to it? Nothing. What can you take away from it? So everything must be it. And when you look at that again, without taking the words, all these manifestations must be things. The picture on the wall is a thing, the sofa, the tree, the flower, the leaf on the tree. All things appearing on that basic screen, which is no thing. Space is no thing. Has it got any boundaries? Is there an inner to it? Is there an outer to it? Is there any substance? Does it have any beginning? Does it have any ending? Does it have any point of reference anywhere? It's not. So it is all no thing. So can something come from no thing? It can't. So there you got your answer to life, to everything. You are that no thing, which is everything, because they can't be divided. You can't say it's either one or the other. But everything, all the manifestation is appearance as things. And all those things have a seeming beginning and an end. But the basic screen is never touched or contaminated or corrupted by any of the things which appear in it, any of the pattern, shapes and forms. So when we take ourselves to be that pattern, shape and form, see the trouble it gets us into. After all, I'm only human, and I'm an unhappy or a fearful or an anxious or all the other labels we put upon ourselves with that sense of separation. Ourselves or myself. That's the worst one. We've taken ourselves to be a personal or separate or individual self. But the scriptures tell you, the ancients have looked at it and understood it and say there's only one Atman, there's only one self. And it's that self that's expressing And appearing as everything. It's all self-aware. It's all self-knowing. It's all self-shining. It's self-hearing. And the seeing, the hearing, the tasting, touching, smelling is going on here we take to be myself is not myself at all. It's just a spontaneous functioning. You're seeing right now, and you'll say, it's me that's seeing, I'm seeing. But if you're not saying that, if you haven't got that label, have you stopped seeing? Whenever you open your eyes, the seeing is there. Even when your eyes are closed, the seeing's there behind your lids. And but you're saying, you know, it's the dark. You're seeing the darkness, or you can't see the light because it's obscured. The same with the hearing. The subtle sounds we don't seemingly hear that's going on. They're really heard. The hearing is going on. We're hearing all these sounds, and that's all words are sounds. Sounds are a vibration, and the vibration is a movement of energy. So it's all that. Tasting, touching, smelling, thinking. Thinking's happening, and you know that because when you ask her what your next thoughts will be, you say, I don't know. You don't know because it hasn't happened yet. But when it comes up, you'll know. So the functioning is spontaneously going on. But there is no entity or individual or person that's doing anything at all. But it's seemingly it needs patterns, shapes and forms to express through. In its absoluteness, how can there be any division in it? How can there be anything in it? So it would be a manifestation for no one to see, no one to hear, nothing, no one to taste, touch, or smell it. Just be going on. Which it does do when all life is taken out of it. Just the vibration, energy continues to vibrate into stars, galaxies, planets, whatever you like to call it. And that's those planets or stars or Earth, like this one on Earth, breaks up into earth, water, air, space, fire. All the elements. And this body we form appears or expresses through those elements. And what's that manufactured? The same as everything else does. Shape and form comes into being and functions in this manifestation. And the pattern, shapes and forms like this body. All the organs in it, the brain, the heart, the lungs, the blood, the sinews, and the intelligence in it forms it, enables it, has the capacity of reason. And it reasons out and it learns words and reasons out, and we think we are doing things, but that's spontaneous functioning, the innate intelligence knowing what to do. And same with the insects, the birds, the animals. The bees know to build a hive, the birds know to build a nest. And the ants know to form armies or amazing nests with amazing things in them. Go out and do things in the world the same as we do. But we have been enabled, given, or not a matter of being given, but the innate intelligence has allowed the capacity of reasoning to come into these pattern shapes and forms, more than it does in other birds, in animals and insects. So we've reasoned a lot of these things out. And look what that capacity of reasoning enables us to do. Many, many things. But the thing is, we haven't given credit where credit was due and given it to this life essence, this intelligence energy, we say, I can do this. I can do this. Taking ourselves to be the doer. And I have self-will. I can will. If you didn't have that life essence in that body, you wouldn't be able to take a breath, open or close your eyes, hear a sound, take a bite and chew something and consume food or anything. So what you are is really this life, what we call life. Life is the functioning intelligence energy that's forming these globes, stars, patterns, and everything that has ever manifested or ever likely to manifest. It is that life or energy, which is an intelligence energy in the wondrous ways it can pattern, shape and form and express. But we've lost sight of that and suffered accordingly. And that's what most of the talk things go into. How am I going to fix myself? How am I going to fix this mind? And we divide it up, and the intelligence enables us to divide it up into neuro this and physicist this and what and that, and I can't even think of half the terms I've divided. And we think we're doing it all. But coming to, with the capacity of reasoning, we come to see, enable us to see and understand to a certain extent the way it's functioning. But in doing that, we've taken on the belief that I can do it. I am the smart one, the intelligent one that can do it. Of course, you are, but you're also that the intelligent one. But the intelligence one that's pattern shaped and formed as a separate entity, as an individual. But it's never lost its true nature as the intelligence one. And we attribute it to all these human patterns, shapes and forms. And that's where we, because it's a vibration and it vibrates dualistically and we take it to be the person, we see other than the person. When we see other and see the way it functions, vibrates in the opposite and look at the way it functions. It always functions dualistically. It divides up, seemingly divides up, because there couldn't be one without the other. And there couldn't be the other without the one. That means there couldn't be any manifestation at all, ever stayed in its oneness, in this union. So it divides up into other than one, which is two or more. So that's what happens. At the age of about 2, 2.5, this after we come into being or existence. And how do you come into being or existence? Well, go back to your father and your mother, and you'll see that life essence, that animating intelligence energy that formed that pattern you call your father and your mother. And out of the parents, out of his parents, the form, the entity, the life essence within those patterns and forms, enable through the food eaten and the prana, the air, the breathing, all the rest of it, enable a little microscopic particle called a sperm to form. It's formed from the innate intelligence in the body and the food essence, the essence of intelligence in the food. And the air and innate intelligence functioning enable a sperm to form, and in the mother it enables an egg or an ovum to form, and that egg and sperm are suffused with that intelligence, because the intelligence, the ovum attaches, the egg attaches itself to the wall of the uterus, implying and showing you that it is suffused with intelligence to enable us to do that. If it was just a blob of glue, like, the saliva or something like that, which does its job in the mouth, but what do? You can spit it out. Or the perspiration that's coming out of your body. But this sperm forms, attaches itself to the wall of the uterus. And the sperm, the same, through the food essence, has the capacity of swimming, again implying it is suffused with an innate intelligence. And that intelligence knows what to do when it's through certain activities of the male and the female, that it knows what to do. That sperm knows to swim, and it swims into the ovum and penetrates the ovum. And with that two coming together, again it grows from there, because that cell doubles and doubles again, and the genes and whatever it is in both of them began to form a little embryo, a little fetus. And that's what you are today. Grown, it's changed, it's transient, like we pointed out before, it's transient. It's all constantly changing. Doesn't say the same, it changes. And that it doesn't, there's millions of sperms formed and eggs, and not all fertilise and double, but then what happens to them? They go back into life again. So life is always continuing, and life is always going on. Nothing is ever lost. It's a spontaneous absoluteness, great perfection. Never, though it's changing like the ocean is constantly changing, but yet, as water, it's never changing. Any wave goes back into the ocean. Any spray or sperm or whatsoever goes back one way or another into it again. So we have the capacity of reasoning, and that doesn't develop until we learn words. If I ask you when you begin, you'll say, I was born. Unless you've looked into the stuff, you'll tell me you were never born, like I'll tell you. But you can't remember your birth. You say you were born, you can't remember your birth. You were told it was such and such a date, and such a year, to such and such parent. And why can't you remember? Purely and simply because you had no words then. The capacity of reasoning hadn't developed. But the innate intelligence was there, just the same with the sperm and the ovum coming together. The sperm doesn't reason that out, I've got to go to so-and-so, and the ovum doesn't reason that out, I've got to touch so. But the intelligence, they know what to do. So the same, we don't know we're born until we learnt words. That's when the capacity of reasoning develops. And with that capacity of reasoning, we learn words. Our parents tell us these words, we learn words from our parents. We learn words like I and me. And you can't do much with I or me. They're just two words. Just like any word, you can't do much with it until it's investigated and you learn. What we put meaning into these words and give them some meaning. Otherwise, what is word? Word's just sound. Sound's a vibration, and a vibration is movement of energy. And a vibration means it has no beginning, no end to it. It's just a throb, a pulsation, so it never moves away from its wholeness, though it's seeming to vibrating into two. It never is. And when we learn words, we take I am Bob the Australian, and we look out there and see something that doesn't fit this pattern, shape and form that I call I or me, what happens? We become insecure. That's not me. So we're insecure about ourselves and vulnerable. And then vulnerable, then instead of being absolute, now we've become vulnerable. With that sense of separation comes insecurity and vulnerability. And what happens? We've learnt words like fear and anger, and when we feel insecure, it brings up a sense of fear in us, or insecurity, or wonderment, or what's going to happen. And that's when our search starts, because we don't like looking out there and seeing something we don't know anything about it being invulnerable. And the animals know innately when what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad for them, the animals that are dangerous, or the other insects or birds that are dangerous. And we've learned it to a certain extent, and as we go along with the capacity of reasoning, we learn more and more and go a bit further than the animals. Now they learn by trial and error or whatever it is to take out and eat certain foods. And we can today, with science and things like that, it's very useful. But we think we're going to find the answer. We still feel separate, even though we are looking at it. We're trying to become whole, not realising our parents never told us that we're whole and complete in the beginning. We've always been so. No matter what shape or form or pattern we appear in, we're always that absolute. Because you can't take anything away from the absolute. We're always that. So, with the sense of relation comes this insecurity and vulnerability. And then we label ourselves. We believe it's me or I. The person, the persona, the mask. Instead of seeing that we are that one essence, the absolute. So it's pointed out in the Bible and many other scriptures, be still and know that I am God. They call God the absolute. And they say, be still and know that. But we don't. We think that God is something superior, something greater, some old guy in the sky or in the shape and form of a human, because God made man in his image and likeness, so we've taken that the wrong way and think we are in the image and likeness of God. God is the same as us, but far greater, a bigger thing. But not in the intelligence we got and the capacity of reasoning we got. That innate absolute knows how to fashion shape and form spontaneously and naturally and absolutely. Now we have that capacity to a certain extent when we learn to reason. But the capacity of reasoning has got us into a lot of trouble. The capacity is more developed than what it is in other animals, birds, insects. But they have other capacities which are more developed than our capacity of reasoning. The bird has the capacity of eyesight and can fly, two things we can't do. But through the reasoning we get pretty close to it, or might even outdo it with the capacity of reasoning. We've learned to build ourselves glasses or binoculars or telescopes which enable us to see better. And a bird can fly. We can't do that. The capacity of reasoning, we've learned to build planes, helicopters, kites, balloons and things like that enable us to fly. So it's a very useful capacity. But you see, it's also vibrates in the opposite, and it's self-destructive. We've learned to build ourselves guns and ammunition and dynamite, things like that, blow ourselves up and other people up, go to war with other people, and poisons and things like that, with some of the herbs and that can be very useful, but Some of them can be poisonous. So some of the herbs we've utilised for healing and things like that, and others we've used for poisons and things like that to kill us. Pesticides and all this sort of thing, herbicides. So it can be self-destructive, this capacity, and it is. Because it tells me I'm not good enough. I'm fearful when we've separated ourselves. Instead of saying I'm the totality. I'm unhappy, I'm depressed. Have a look and see how it functions. It's always functioning in the related opposites. And something comes up and I like it. How do you know? Something comes up in the thought or the feeling or the emotion. I like it. How do you know? Well, I've seen this and had it before, this experience or liking it. And it's good. And naturally, we want the good things. We've had taste of them before and they've gone away. And the bad things, the opposites have come. We want the good things. We don't want it to go. So what do? We try to keep it there from this personal aspect. Try and keep it there. And we're resisting the functioning of life. The functioning of life, we're resisting it. And with that resistance, which is conflict, when you go to war or fight with anything, you're in conflict with it. And when you're in conflict, it makes you fearful, anxious, afraid, depressed, guilty, emotional. An uneasiness comes about instead of the ease of being, the love of being. The uneasiness comes about it. And that uneasiness, another term for that, is dis-ease. So there's resistance, conflict and deceit. Something comes up and I don't like it. One of the so-called bad things have come up and I don't want it. We don't want these to happen. No, when we want the good things to happen, not realising they're going to change. Now the bad things that come up and we don't want them to be there. Not realising they're not stitched on us anywhere. They're going to move away also, if recognised and seen for what they are. We don't want it to go, so we try to throw it out. Get rid of it, push it away. So we resist it again. We're in conflict again. And that's constantly going on in our lives. Resistance, conflict and deceit. And we pure moments when everything's all right, they don't last for very long. It's constantly transient, going to change. The bad things come up. And the bad things seem to hang around longer because of that resistance. We don't allow it to be there and let it go in its own way, in its own time, by not fixating on it, giving it the attention, and fixating on it and staying with it, instead of leaving it be as it is. We leave the good things be as they are because we don't want them to change, but they move away on us anyway. Yeah. So what is the actuality? What is means just as it is in the moment, unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected. No trying to change it whatsoever. No preferences for it, no comparison, no partiality. Leave it as it is. And with that, spontaneous, be joyousness, a sense of well-being, a sense of nothing wrong anymore, a sense of what we've been looking for all our life. But what do? We grasp onto it, try to hold on to it, try and fixate it. This is what I want to be. And you see that. People get the taste of it, and I lost it. It went away. It didn't last. Because you wanted to fixate on it and keep it there. Instead of leaving it there, letting it change and letting it will. And with the letting it be, it's not going to be, the bad's not going to be as bad as it seemingly was. It can be handled. Yeah. And the good, not fixated on, might stay around a bit longer. Because if you're not fixated on one or the other, like if the cloud's no longer recognised as attached to the sky, it moves on. it doesn't know, but, you know, the cloud itself, the sun, the heat of the sun causes the cloud to come up into the sky and evaporates it, or brings it down as rain. So, when the cloud disappears, there's more clarity in the space, in the screen in which it appears on. There's more clarity. And with the light of the sun in it, it's bright, it's clear, it's empty. But we're trying to find the answer in the mind. With the thinking, the thinking's been very useful for us, been very destructive for us also. We think it's more useful than it is destructive. So we're going to utilise it and make it all better, but it doesn't happen. And when you realise that, you've been looking in the mind for the answer all these years. It's taken you into many different things in many different places. But it's always seemingly lost for a while. Goes away. And then the struggle goes on. Leave it as it is and see how it unfolds. See what comes about from that. That's what we point to, ask you to look at. I've gone on long enough. Some of you have very good questions, have seen it, and recognise it, and can give good pointers like similar, or probably might even be better ones that are coming out here. But whatever innate intelligence or reasoning is behind it all. But so get into it, and others might be coming to it for the first time or things they don't understand. Don't hesitate to ask and see some point that might resonate with you when you hear it. I had to go to the Sagadatta and I heard what he was saying. He was just pointing it out simply and clearly. And I heard it where I'd heard it many times before, but it didn't have the same effect. This time it did, it was seen. So you never know who's going to resonate with it. Yes. So get into it. I'll read.
Okay, I have a couple of nice questions and comments. I didn't read it very carefully, but I'll start from the end. Welcome everyone. Hope you're having a good day. We started the day from the car crash outside the building. Had to go out and call the ambulance and see if everyone's all right, but they're taken care. And nobody really injured badly enough to call it a bad day. I think they've been lucky. John David says, once you know with absolute certainty that nothing can trouble you but your own imagination, you come to disregard your desires and fears, concepts and ideas, and live by truth alone. Nisargadatta.
Yep,
what an elegant sentence.
Yeah, well, I point that out constantly.
Yeah. Mm.
It's a good quote.
It's a beautiful quote.
And the truth's in it.
Yes. There is one from Larry. So, Bob, the thoughts and concepts that are arising presently are empty of substance. They arise and disappear in a moment and don't amount to anything. This leaves simple seeing and knowing as it is, without someone that is seeing. Does understanding go any further than this?
Isn't that enough? When the seeing and knowing is there and it's spontaneous, it's happening by itself. See what comes out of that. It'll come out naturally anyway. The joyousness and the love of bliss of being and all these things will happen.
Yeah, the only understanding is that the answer is not in the mind. That's it. The rest you know that you are. That's all. And insights are still flowing. They never stop. Like the intelligence of life or absolute likes to blink an eye on itself in many, many different ways. So it kind of comes as a little aha moments, which you can verbalize, or maybe some of them you can't verbalize. They're moments of joyousness, or moments of seeing suddenly an angle of, the basic understanding is that, you are. That's it. There is nothing really more
And
to
there's a
it.
saga that it says you come to disregard
Yeah.
your thoughts and your fears and your disregard them. Don't give them any power at all.
Yeah.
Recognise that. What are they appearing on? They're appearing on the basic screen. The mirror in which images appear. The imagination or the images appear on the mirror, on the screen.
There is a comment from Tanya. Great to see you again, Bob. Really lovely to speak to you yesterday. No difference between us. There is not to. The habit pattern shyness still comes up when talking sometimes. No judging thoughts about that believed in anymore. Thank you, Bob and Kat. I am the absolute. Only thought says that I am not the absolute, but there is recognizing that that thought is just words and not the actual. Beautiful.
Beautiful, Tanya. Don't forget it.
Brilliant. Yes, and what a wonderful sharing. For everyone who would like to maybe, get in touch with Bob, that's what you may expect. You may actually see that there is no superiority, inferiority. That his beautiful, humble clarity of being just a normal, ordinary guy who gives his heart into helping people break through from the suffering. And he's here. He's available. He's there. And then you can actually really see how simple. And I have to go to a different screen now to read some more. A lot of beautiful good morning messages and love messages for which we say thank you. Rohan, if you can understand this little self never at any time had any existence outside your imagination, you will not be concerned with ways and means of getting rid of it. Amalai Swami. Yeah, well, that could be also the one-liner of the understanding. The answer is not in the mind, or there is no self.
It's just the same as the Sagadatta was saying, if you can understand it.
The understanding is because that's what Larry was saying. Does understanding go any further? It is alive. It lives in you. So it doesn't go further because it doesn't really go anywhere. It's here. It's but it unfolds.
It was Patanjali says, it's right. Understanding is all, and the Sagadatta says right understanding.
Yeah.
Just the right understanding. It's all basic understanding. What's another term for understanding? Knowing, yeah. Or realising, or recognising.
Yeah.
Understanding.
Cognizing. Because the understanding sometimes goes with the notion that this is something for which you need the bright mind, intellect, and this is not this type of understanding. It is not the type of understanding that you learned from the book. It is the understanding that is innate. You were born with it. As a little baby, you are already aware of the existence. That is innate. It's always there. If it was something that can be gained or lost, it is part of the appearance. It's passing phenomena. It's transient. It's not worth it. If there is an understanding that you think...
Nobody would hear that.
Yeah, that's I don't know which stage of the relationship when you actually do these things in front of each other.
That was the spontaneous...
You are the family. So.
Spontaneous digestive explosion going on.
No doer. Yeah, so the understanding is what's always been there, and it is only seemingly obscured by thinking. When the thinking stops, the clarity of existence is obvious. Even when the thinking is there, you can't deny your existence, and that's the basic. That's the basics. If there is something that you need, you can get if you listen to longer or more or read more books. That's something that you get, that intellectual grasp that you get is not worth it because it's temporary, and it even depends on the computer there. You get Alzheimer and you lose it, so what's the worth? So the understanding is recognition. I like that word.
Yeah.
Because it's a cognition again, cognizing again, something that has been somehow not even forgotten but kind of lost sight of.
That's right.
You use the word losing sight of it. Losing sight of the most obvious here-ness, what's here.
Yeah. Someone you know goes away for a long time, a few years, come back, and you can recognise them.
Yeah. See if we can get any more sharing. Love itself is expressing. Tanya says, beautiful Rohan, thanks for sharing, and so true. Interesting thoughts naturally and spontaneously falls away, the more that you investigate and see what actually is. It's true. It is beautiful to hear the Absolute expressed to you, through you, with such love. That's Bill. Amarnath, seeing is being. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, there is no seer, seeing really.
No. Seeing is happening, the thought I see is not the seer.
Yeah. Jesse, life is not a metaphor. It cannot be compared. It is not a smile. It cannot be like anything. It leaves us. We do not leave it. Yeah.
Hi, Jesse. Good to hear from you. Haven't been in touch for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, he says, I miss you. You say you miss him. That's really nice. Yeah, life leaves you. That's the main point. Like, yeah, I had a conversation the other day with someone who says that it's very, very easy to actually recognize that life is breathing you, it's beating your heart, it's growing your hair. That is undeniable, but it's harder to not take credit for the thoughts. But when you actually see how life is also throwing the thoughts, because there are no thoughts ever unrelated to the rest of life. They're always, the thoughts that come up are in response of the environment, other inner environment, which will be the moods or inner landscape of inner weather, or the outer, whatever's happening. They always completely related in one with the world.
With life itself.
Yes.
No life, no thoughts.
Yeah.
What's your next thought going to be? You know that. There's no thinker of a thought. Thinking is happening. Comes up spontaneous through the activities in that pattern.
Yeah, so we think we are deciding for our thoughts or perhaps our reactions, or we feel that we have some sort of a control over our responses. Yeah, well, we could say we have, but who is that we? If the we, the I, is the whole world manifesting as every single blade of grass and every element of a moving particle of the wind, then yes, we have absolute control as the totality. But if I say I have the control, who is that I? Because my thoughts are depending on the rest of the world. And are they depending on anything else than the world? The body is part of the world. The thinking habits, the conditioning, the past, they are also part of the world. So really the world, which is life, is doing decision making, is choosing, is responding, is reacting, is doing the lot. Now the Rohan says, if the truth is something that is gained, then it will also be lost. To even say, I have understood it, or even to say, I understood it and I lost it, is to admit an individual entity who understand it or lost it. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's why it's absolutely not even worthy of chasing, because it's not permanent, it's not the truth.
That's where you realise the words have got no power whatsoever.
Yeah.
They can be utilised, but they haven't got any power at all.
No, if the truth is conceptual, it is completely belief-based. If it has never been, if it's not eternal, it's not truth. Truth is that which is eternal, which never changes. So the understanding cannot be verbal or conceptual, because for this you even need to learn the language. Yeah, beautifully said, Rohan. To even say I have understood, it has to be the I. And that's what usually, starts the spiritual search. There is an I that hopes to be better, or to get something, or to become someone. But along the way, when the investigation deepens and when the clarity is more prominent, that I is less and less.
When you understand that you are the essence, you can use I as much as you like, but you know it's not a personal I you're talking about.
Yeah. Happening in non-happening, Armanath says. That's right. Yeah, nothing ever happens. And yet everything stands straight in front of your eyes. And see if I've... any more comments on this screen. No. We have beautiful words of welcoming in the morning, and yes, Bob will read them because I see them now. He will read them all after the meeting. Good morning, dear ones. Good morning, lovers. Good, that's just I think it was over 40 people saying it. So please contribute. Otherwise, I'll bore you with the with the messages that are, although really loving and sweet, but they're not on the topic. Amarnath, knowledge is learned ignorance. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. Good one. I think I just remember, because there is nothing else. Julia, what was it that you were saying on... I forwarded to you that Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta, and Bob, they didn't really sit and spend hours and days and weeks of writing books to change the world or fix the world. If there are books with their authorship, it is because the students took the time to record the talks and scribe them and note them down. So there was a question. Julia still feels like she does have the book inside her and wants to bring it out. And what was the question? I'm not sure, because roughly, the Nisargadatta and Ramana Maharshi and Bob never sung in public, and it doesn't mean that Johnny Cash has done something wrong singing. It is like, every pattern in the nature has its calling. And if the calling goes up for you right now to write the book that you have inside you that is already kind of trying to pour out, the non-resistance is the right attitude. But the non-resistance applies also to the point where things get prioritized and you take your kids to the road trip, and everything happens as it should, and everything unfolds as it should. And if there is an urge for getting motivated and accomplish the project, that's also life. Or join the workshop, or that's also life. Everything's life. When the conceptualizing comes up, is it right, or is it, they didn't do it, or maybe I have some personal agenda. Well, this is all narrative. Just throw it away and give credit where credit is due. Are you sitting and writing your book? That's life doing it. Are you not doing it? That's life not doing it. And what should, would, could, that's rubbish. That's just the narrative self. That's it's just making a story and creating problems in concepts. Life is just so simple. It is just so simple. You address whatever shows up. The desire shows up to share something with people, and it happens or it doesn't. And you never know until it's done. And if I'm getting it wrong, please correct me. I know you're here with us. Did you want to add anything on this one? What Julia was asking in the morning?
I can't remember it.
You shouldn't be admitting it.
Mm.
Nothing more comes up. Jane says, thank you, Bob. I could listen to you for hours. Yeah, that's the right frequency. It's a beautiful frequency.
Haven't got hours left, in there.
Oh. Yeah, he will talk for hours if you ask questions. Some days he sits on Skype and there's call after a call. Some other days there is no calls. But yes, you have hours in you.
But the things were touched on this morning
Yes.
by Rowan and Tanya and who else was it?
There was Larry and Amanda.
Larry, yeah.
Yes.
Been right to the point, yeah.
Yeah.
The point which has no point.
And Jesse saying life is not a metaphor.
Yeah.
Cannot be compared. It's not a smile. It cannot be like anything. It leaves us. We do not leave it. Yes, there is no us to leave it. There is just it, nothing else.
Jesse is life, expressing as life, like everything else is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like when you say this one essence expressing as everything, expressing as the body, and through the body. This is the same expression. The words, the ideas, the books that come through that body are expression of that one life. But the body itself is also expression of that life. The thoughts, including the negative thoughts, including the self-pity, shame, guilt, and remorse, they also expression of that. And the ego, the self, the sense of separation, the suffering, that is also an expression of that, because there is nothing else. And all of it is nothing, because it is just a vibration, transient, temporary appearance, like a smoke or rainbow. So that is only that moment now, in this moment, that unique, fleeting, dreamlike appearances can be appreciated. And regardless what the appearances are, if the appearance is a headache, that is also a temporary appearance, that in impersonal manner it could be appreciated, including the pain that goes with it, the resistance to the pain that goes with it, and medicating it, and all of it, the whole landscape, on the deepest level, has been allowed and invited to that moment as, you know, it always just looks at itself, the absolute, the infinite, the emptiness. It is looking at itself in all those changing forms. And they have to be dualistic, they have to be opposites, they have to be extreme. Because they are. They have to, because they are. And if they weren't, there would be no appearance. For anything to exist, it has to appear on its opposite. For the form to exist, it has to appear on the emptiness. And the form has shape and color. With no form, there would be no shape or color. They all interrelated. They all depending on one another. Like wind moving the branches of the trees. It's a beautiful sunny day here, but it's a windy day too.
blank at the moment.
Yeah, I kind of feel that my job is to make you speak, and I'm doing my best, but sometimes he's just happy in the silence, and finding the attraction of the silence, and finding even a sort of a devotional love and admiration for that silence, and developing the taste for that silence is something that could be modeled, another thing that could be modeled from this beautiful man. Just enjoying the being, because ultimately everything else is just a dream, it's just passing phenomena, and the being is the screen, is the basic essence, is something that you can totally trust, something that is always there. And that being also, when the attention goes back to the being, that same attention is not out there in creating problems and suffering. So that's also the way home.
Mm-hmm.
I can hear the cat. I'll just be right back. Come, Danny, come, Tell us about your adoration, admiration, and affection for silence.
Well, not two, so how can you be me admiring or looking at anything? It is. That's just what is. Silence is. Absence of sound.
Yeah.
And sound is the absence of silence. So when we're babbling on, even though this both taking place as silence, we don't recognise the background that everything's taking place on.
Yes.
It's always and ever constant.
Yes, absence. Just notice what you are not. We have a couple of messages. Sally, so many people are in fear right now with the pandemic. Bob, can you share your thoughts about death?
Well, what can you say about death? Can there be the absence of life? When there is, as Nisargadatta says, there is only life, in which pattern, shapes and forms appear, play, expresses everything. When the forms break down, it's what you call death. But where do they go? What happens to them? When the forms are Maya, as it tells you in the scriptures, they're things. The cognising emptiness, or the non-dual one essence, is no thing. It is not a thing. Can something come on that screen of no thingness? Can't. So if all these things appearing on the screen, seemingly real, they are still no thing. Just like the movie on the screen. It's appearing there, seemingly real, but has it touched the screen at all? It's no thing. So when something cannot come, nothing, so what's born and what dies?
Yeah.
What was born is the thought I am. Because when you learn words, that's when it's born. It's when you recognise your birth. When the mind is seen through, those thoughts will still come, but they've lost their sting. How can you believe in something you know is false? It comes up, and you can spout them, say them, and do what you like these words are coming out now. But they are seeming things. That's all.
Yeah.
But in reality, they are the same silence, the stillness, the screen on which they are appearing. Just the same as the images in the mirror. You can't say they're not there. Go up and try and grab one. What do you grab? The mirror. So are they anything other than the mirror? But they appear to be images in it. We appear to be images in this basic screen of intelligence, energy or awareness.
Yeah.
But can you be anything other than the intelligence energy? The reality, the absolute. Know that for certain. Then you can say, think and do whatever comes up, it doesn't matter. That's what that little scripture, little text, beautiful little thing, all of God, that's what I was called by, when he realises, he says, I am I, who is consciousness. Instead of he saying that I is the consciousness, not the I am the consciousness, not the I am the thought, which is a bear. He says, what? All this, I am I who is consciousness, all this is fictitious as a dream. What does it say? What does it matter what I say, think or do? Thinking in us, it doesn't mean to say I'm not going to think. I throw my hat in the air and dance for joy. Beautiful little thing, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's what they call Tandava, the dancer.
Yeah, so that's your thoughts on death. Tanya says, you're doing so well, Bob. So lovely to see how you look after each other, Bob and Kat. Thank you. And Amarnath, without reference point of self-center, there is no opposites patterns too. I'm not quite sure about that. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what Amarnath, what you mean. Without reference point or self-center, there is no opposites patterns too. Like the day and night, our cat doesn't create the self-center, it doesn't have an ego. But it kind of seems like he experienced day and night hunger and food and all of the appearance without having a reference point to the self, the conceptual reference point. The appearance, the dream still seem to be appearing.
No self or nothing other than self.
But
appearances happen, yeah.
Yeah, perhaps you may think the opposites as you label it, like I'm not quite sure. Yeah, anyway. I lost it. Oh yes. Without reference center, there is no opposites, patterns. Okay. John David, I lost a friend today, and I would also like to hear thoughts about death. Thank you, Sally, for asking what I kept silent about. So sorry to hear, John. This is... Yeah, this is ouch. You probably need to hear more about your own heart calling for acknowledgement of pain than of death, because I don't know, maybe what you said about death, there really is no death. It's just energy can't be destroyed, it can only change form. I've lost a friend too, it hurts.
It's still another pattern in the absolute, or appearance in the absolute. What can you add to? Can you touch the absolute?
No.
So any of the so-called things that take place in it, which are nothing but the absolute, they can't be hurt.
Yeah. And I've seen a couple of other people were asking recently about, they had a situation with loss of a parent or a spouse or a friend. And the question was about how to deal with the emotions that come up. And I would say be grateful for whatever shows up, because you wouldn't really want to be heartless and neutral, because every pattern of energy, every especially human pattern that you call friend, which means that has been a heart to heart, and that was a beautiful, precious connection that is, and even the existence of that person with the depths and the dreams and the goals and desires and idiosyncrasies and habits and all of it, it seems like such an intricate piece of art that has been created and grown for so long with such a pietism, with such an investment of energy and attention, and it's suddenly all gone like a sand mandala that was created for the monks for weeks and weeks and then poof, just swept away. Seems like such a waste, such an investment in that beautiful pattern, and such a heartless dismissal of its existence. That's how it may seem on the level of the heart. When I lost my best friend to suicide, that was ouch. But at the same time, it kind of makes you appreciate that transience even more. That everything that is right now, you value it so much more because it's not eternal, it is mortal. And I think that was also what came up when Sally asked about death. I don't really think people consciously fear their own death. They fear the pain and the suffering associated, or the pain and psychological suffering associated with the sense of loss that they are imposing on others. Let's say if there is a mother of 6 dying of cancer and she doesn't know how her children are going to be without her. Of course, that's enormous suffering. But this is not, and a fear as well, but this is not because, oh yeah, I won't be there. That concept is not even thinkable. Nobody can even imagine their own non-existence, so it doesn't really cause anything. I mean, it may cause you to kind of try and run away from the thought, but that's about it. The thought cannot be imagined, so it can't be feared. That's what comes up for me as the most kind of drastic and tragic about dying. Oops.
What happened there?
Nothing, just cats switch on the vacuum cleaner and freak themselves out a bit.
How do you do that?
Must have been, stepping on the...
Yeah, there can be a terrible sense of grief and mourning. Well, let that happen.
Yeah.
Huh?
And I would
But go back and look at your life.
Mm.
Everybody's lost somebody, I think, along the way.
Yeah. If not somebody, it would be something.
Yeah,
the sense of loss
else.
is just because loss is constant. I mean, you've been child, you're not. Things that, everything has expiry date in the appearance because that's the nature of it. Mm. I would also translate that sense of grief or sense of heartbreak with love, because it is because of love. If you didn't care, if it didn't matter, there would be no grief.
Mm.
So that grief is only here because there was a great appreciation and love towards that pattern that is unavailable now. And is it really unavailable? Because what I've noticed when I lost my best friend, she was there. I would sometimes sit by the table and kind of forget myself in the commentary and dialogue. Oh yeah, she's just coming back. Oh, I must not forget to tell her this and to share this and to share that. And after an hour, I realized, oh my gosh, she's not coming back. She didn't just go around the corner. She didn't just go to the bathroom. She's gone for good. But that's a thought. Because for that 1 hour, she was with me fully, completely.
Sometimes people I know years back, and the thought comes up about them, why, I don't know how. But then I ask myself, would there be anybody else in the world right now that would be thinking of that person? And there wouldn't be, because they've all died.
Yeah.
And even though, so...
Yeah. How about people 10,000 years ago?
Yeah. What you think of them right now?
Yeah.
If you don't know them, well, you can only imagine again.
How about people you meet in your dreams?
Yeah.
They evaporate, and you can't even say they die, but they're
We've all
gone.
got different images of Those who are Christians have got different images of Christ.
Yes. Mm.
Well,
And
Now-
yeah, and
this Agadadara, I remember him every day, but there's no sense of grief there,
yeah.
or anything like that. But it's just what did we just say? Gratitude or something that you knew him, that he appeared in my life for a while.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And others that along those lines too.
I heard quite a few people who I met coming here saying that every morning when they wake up, they are filled with gratitude that Bob has shown up in their lives, because their lives has transformed and become really easy and really simple and really present and really grounded in what is, rather than in the imaginary dramas that are not. Yes, quite a few comments like this I heard. And yeah, you can be with that, John. You know, see how intense, how often, and how long-lasting the feelings. I think is part of a human journey.
The main point is that realise that you are life,
Mm.
and they, whoever they were or are, were life also, and are still life.
Yeah.
Out of life, more life comes.
Mm.
Different patterns, shapes and forms. The raindrop, water, falls onto the earth, gives life to a seed that's there. Or another one might fall into the river,
Yeah.
and it flows back down into the sea again. And all the water in the sea, it's all coming. Where does it go? Does it finish with?
Yeah, life's not lost. It's just the form that is lost. The costume is lost. Our fear imposed on others, both are false. Armanas, our fears imposed on others, both are false. Yeah, they all false. Bradley, what is the significance of this knowing that I am for one who is seeking? Bob, what is the significance of this knowing that I am for the one who is seeking, for the seeker?
Well, the seeker thinking he doesn't know the true I am.
Mm.
He thinks I am is the person. I am seeking. But if I am the absolute, where is the seeker?
That's right, yeah.
He disappears into and as the absolute.
Yeah, so the significance for the seeker of understanding and knowing that I am is absolutely crucial. That's what Nisargadatta was saying to seekers. Just stay with the I am. Discard everything else. He was calling it a diamond of good fortune.
Yeah. And the I am he's talking about is a sense of presence.
Yes.
Not the person, not the body, not the mind, but that animating life which is happening right presently in this moment.
Yes.
And then you go in, you are the life.
God, does events in life have meanings or intentions or purposes, or it's my mind who gives meanings from my imagination? Does life has causality or goals? Good question. Yeah. See what's true when you don't think. When there is no mind, there is no meaning, goal, or intention, or motivation. There is just doing, just action, just spontaneous living. When the mind comes, it gets the narrative on top of it. Let's say I'm cooking, and the mind comes and says, oh yes, I am cooking because my values are like this, and because my intentions are like this, and because my motivations are like this. But without that narrative, there's just still cooking. We enjoy our stories about the motivations and intentions and goals in our actions, but we would enjoy them with no suffering if we knew they were just stories. It's no problem to have them. It's okay to have them. They're sweet. They're beautiful. But if we take them for reality and then we project our motivations, let's say people have horrible motivations in what they do to Bob, for example, and they project the same motivation on other people and they live in hell. They project it on Bob, on me, on everyone. They live in hell. If they would stop the narrative, action would be happening, but there would be no hell. Of course, the same projection may be of pleasure. Oh, I'm such a good person, I'm cooking because I'm caring, I'm cooking. It's these stories. They can be enjoyed, but they should be recognized because that would make you immune to suffering. Amarnath. Essence of life beyond pattern of life and death, mind, which never born will never die. There are millions of bacteria in our bodies daily. For some reason I can only see half of it. I can't see more of it. Death lifts the veil completely to reveal the life itself that is everything, Julia. And John David beautifully said, Kat, thank you so much. I really needed to hear that. Thank you. Mukti, the ouch is our limbic brain, our nervous system, which experience the neural dance with the other. That's part of the dualistic experience of love as form. Grieving is sweet pain without resistance. Beautiful.
Still only life expressing it both ways.
Yeah. Rachel, your comments, Kat, in response to John's comments about losing a friend was beautiful. Mourning is natural. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, it is natural. It is... you don't want to be zombie. You don't want to be a psychopath, incapable of compassion and empathy, like some people that we know, who actually admit they have no compassion or empathy. Larry, the answer is not in the mind. Full stop. So simple. Yes. That's the one understanding that mind needs to have. Only one. There is no further understanding if that is completely grasped. Absolutely true, Jane says. I'm grateful to Bob every day. So much love. Yes, yeah. Jane is one of the... I mentioned quite a few people who have that sort of approach, that they wake up in the morning with the sense of gratitude. It's so touching. It's so beautiful because gratitude is sweet in itself. And they are not doing it. They are not consciously thinking it or bringing it. It just comes up naturally, like your thought of Nisargadatta. And yes, I was blessed to be in the presence of the one who took me to the other side, and I don't even have to think of the thought of gratitude, because when I open my eyes, that's the first thing I see. Julia, I am one of those people who is thankful daily for Bob's presence. Not just Bob though, I'm grateful for everyone he introduced to me. Thank you too. Kat and Jane as well. And ditto, Julia, thank you. We love you too. And animals mourn too, Sally says. Yes, they do. They do, yeah. They do even on the chemical level. When you want the milk in your coffee and you have to rape the cow every year, inseminate artificially and take the child away, there is still the hormones, the oxytocin running through the mother's body, and they cry in tears. They suffer. They have no story of how evil humans are, because otherwise they would just go and revenge on humans perhaps. But yes, there is absolute... there is an extreme pain relating to the chemistry of the body. Tanya, or even dogs, the story of dogs dying on the owner's grave. That's such a beautiful, touching stories. It's absolutely natural too. Everything's natural. I mean, gosh, it's all nature. I echo the gratitude already expressed. Thank you, Bob, Kat, and everyone that shares here.
Who's that?
That's Tanya. Yeah. Yeah, it's the man is celebrated, but it's never enough of that. keep showering love on him, because it's absolutely no one I ever met in my life who would deserve that more. And now I think the time has come, because people start sending us thank you messages.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you all very much for listening and participating, if you did.
Yes.
If you didn't, thank you. But remember, every pattern, shape and form is already that. And then if you can continue to indulge in the mind and the mind stuff, but realise that behind it all you are prior to thought. Because when you pause a thought, you haven't stopped breathing, your heart hasn't stopped beating, your hair and fingernails haven't stopped growing, food hasn't stopped being digested, life's going on without the thought. So you're prior to mind, or you are what they point out in the scripture, the unborn mind. The mind without any concepts is not born, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's there, it's presence awareness. And you are that. Keep recognising, keep recognising your true nature. Love you all.
Love you all. Yes, stay with the I am, like that was mentioned just before. That's crucial for the seekers. I wonder, one comment I didn't see entirely. It was cut on the phone, but I hope it was the most of it. And yes, have a beautiful day.
Yes. Turn it off.